to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And the Philadelphia Union, too. They win their first trophy in their history. They're going on to the MLS Next Pro Cup to face North Texas this Saturday from FC Dallas' stadium, Toyota Stadium, I believe the park is called. But what a fantastic atmosphere Subaru Park was Saturday night as Union 2 defeated Columbus 4-0, winning their first trophy, the Eastern Conference title, first trophy in club history, like I mentioned. And yeah, what a exciting game. And I had mentioned to somebody, I said, wow, we didn't get many of these games this season at Subaru Park from the first team. And yeah, thank goodness the second team came and provided. And they've done that a lot this season at Subaru Park. And I do feel bad in one sense that a lot of these MLS Next Pro games are played during the week, and they're at such weird times, like 4 or 5 o'clock. And I'm sure a lot of you guys listening are like me, where it's near impossible to get down there during the week for such an early kickoff. And yeah, you would want to support these players. You want to see the next group of homegrown players coming up. But yeah, the kickoff times are so weird. And then you look at some of the games during the weekend. Some of the games are on Sunday after you just went to Subaru Park on Saturday. And after a long night, it's like the schedule's not that favorable if you want to check out MLS Next Pro. And I applaud all the fans that came out the last couple of weekends as the Philadelphia Union 2 team had home field advantage. And yeah, I mean, the crowd did not disappoint. And I do wonder, would the same amount of people that went throughout the playoffs, would the crowd still look the same if the first team was in the playoffs? I'm not sure. I do think that Union 2 benefited from the first team not being in the playoffs and people still wanting to get their live soccer fix in, still wanting to go to Subaru Park. I'll speak for myself where I was like, yeah, I mean, I still want to get to live games. I still want to be at Subaru Park. And yeah, these players, these coaching staff members, they deserve the coverage. They deserve the fan support. So for myself, I'm like, yeah, I selfishly still want to go at Subaru Park. The season ended way too fast. And well, the first team's not in the playoffs and might as well go and give the second team the coverage they deserve. And I think some of you guys probably have the same mindset too with going to the stadium to give your support to a team that definitely earned it, definitely needed it. And all the players, the coaching staff say that the fan support, the Bridge Brigade and all the other fans that show up, you guys are the 12th man. You guys made the difference. And I hope a good amount of fans are able to travel down to Texas this weekend. I know the Eagles are going to be down there playing on the Cowboys. So yeah, maybe you go down there and you get Union 2 on Saturday and then Sunday you get the Eagles Cowboys match. And wouldn't it be a bad weekend? Hopefully both teams can come away with a win, have a perfect weekend. But yeah, all in all, a great last game at Subaru Park, watching Union 2 lift the title and watching them put up 4 goals. And yeah, that was a really, really enjoyable game. So we'll, like we've been doing the last couple episodes, we'll go ahead and talk about Union 2 and give my thoughts on that match. We'll go over some clips from Marlon LeBlanc, from CJ Olney. We'll go ahead and do 3 stars. We'll go ahead and do Blunder of the Week. Yes, we do have Blunder of the Week. And as we normally did in the past, I know we didn't do it last episode, we'll start with some news. We have just, the recap in case you guys haven't been watching the MLS playoffs. I'll get you guys recapped on what you may or may not have missed. So without further ado, let's get straight into the news. All right, so like I said, we're going to go ahead and just recap the playoff games, the thrilling drama that these playoffs have been. And yeah, I haven't been able to watch every single game, but there have been primarily the East Coast games that I'm paying attention to. We'll start with the West Coast, though. So you have the Seattle Sounders. They defeat Houston Dynamo. Both games went to penalties. Christian Roldan for Seattle Sounders scored in game 2 in the 87th minute, and then he scores an own goal in the 93rd minute that sent this game to penalties. And then Seattle advances both times on penalties. Houston Dynamo knocked out of the playoffs. And yeah, a lot of people I saw said that they thought the Dynamo could actually be the sleeper team and wouldn't be surprised if they go on a little bit of a deep run. That did not happen, and they lose on penalties, which is harsh, right? Where you go ahead and look, game 1 ended 0-0, the next game ended 1-1. I mean, you concede just one goal in 2 games and you're knocked out of the playoffs. But I mean, you look at how the game went, especially game 2, where Houston's down a man for 24 minutes. And, you're just bunkering down, hoping to get to penalties. And yeah, that's what Houston did. And they just ultimately weren't able to get past Seattle Sounders. But let's go on to the next game, LAFC versus Vancouver Whitecaps. That game is going to a game 3. LAFC won the first game 2-1. And then game 2 happened on Sunday night with the Whitecaps winning 3-0. And yeah, what a exciting series. Vancouver Whitecaps, I don't know. They're scoring. They prove that they can score in LA, and you put up 3 goals. I know 2 of them were own goals against LAFC in game 2, but yeah, I mean, you blank them. You get a shutout after they put up 2 goals on you in LA. You got to feel pretty confident going into game 3 there. So that should be an exciting game 3 coming up. And then we go ahead and look at the next game. By the way, that LAFC versus Vancouver game, that's going to be on November 8th. And so next game we have is Minnesota United. They defeat RSL in 2 games. Both of those games went to penalties. Nothing too exciting to highlight from that. Minnesota did pick up their first playoff wins, and now they're advancing. And they've had good teams over the years. And, some of those teams where you're like, yeah, they should do pretty well, advance pretty far in the playoffs, and never happened. And here they go, both games in penalties, defeat RSL. And man, so many people say RSL, they're such a good team. They were the 3 seed while Minnesota were the 6th. And I remember I was on the Battered MLS Fans podcast, and, we were doing our MLS predictions, and I forget who I was on the show with, but somebody said that, yeah, they wouldn't be surprised if RSL beat Minnesota if they go on a little bit of a run. But I said, no. I mean, the last couple of years, that's what a lot of people were saying, that RSL did well in the regular season. They got hot late. And then when it came playoff time, they couldn't win games. They choked. And so just following what history said about RSL, I had no faith in them whatsoever. Yes, you only concede 1 goal, just like Houston Dynamo, and you get knocked out of the penalties. That's harsh. But when you only make 1 penalty kick in game 2, do you really deserve a game 3? No, you do not. Let's go on to the next and the final game in the Western Conference, which was LA Galaxy versus Colorado Rapids. The first game, LA Galaxy won 5-0. Next game, they win 4-1. And Ricky Puig, after the game, said, wow, we have 22 days to wait until our next game. I mean, what a joke. Fix that MLS. And yeah, I mean, remember a couple years ago, similar situation happened with the Union. I think it was 17 days the Union had off before they played New England in the playoffs in 2020. And ultimately, it cost the Union against New England. They lost that game. Union won Supporters Shield that year, and they would have had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And yeah, they choke. They lose the very first game against New England Revolution, and they had played each other like 4 or 5 times prior. So it was bound to happen, right, eventually, that the Union were going to lose at some point in 2020 to New England. It just so happened to be in the playoffs when the Union would have hosted MLS Cup. But yeah, that was not a series whatsoever. Colorado came in as the 7th seed, LA Galaxy the 2 seed, and yeah, 9 goals in 2 games. Ouch. Let's go ahead, though, move to the Eastern Conference. Orlando City versus Charlotte. That game is going to a game 3. So you had Charlotte lose the first game 2-0 in Orlando. And then the second game, Charlotte win on penalty kicks in game 2. Kalina comes up with a huge save against Duncan McGuire to seal the deal for Charlotte in that game. We'll see Game 3 happened on November 9th. Then moving on to the Cincinnati versus New York City game. That game's also going to game 3. So Cincinnati win the first one 1-0. We see New York City dominate Cincinnati 3-1 in game 2. Game 3 will be on the 9th of November as well. And then probably the most exciting game. Well, that's actually probably not true. Maybe it is. We'll start with the Inter Miami versus Atlanta United game. So that one's also going to a game 3. We see Atlanta United lose 2-1 in Miami in game 1, and then Atlanta win game 2, 2-1, and they get a 94th minute winner. Just absolute scenes in Atlanta. Brad Guzan's been playing so well the last 2 months, I would say, and I feel like it all started against the Union, where he had 7 saves, I believe, in that 1-1 draw at Subaru Park against the Union. And yeah, it seems like Brad's found the fountain of youth, really putting the Atlanta team on his back, just coming in with huge saves. And yeah, I thought it was possible that Atlanta could have came away and beat Miami in Miami just because of how well Brad Guzan played in that game, but it wasn't to be. But they find a late winner in Atlanta and now force a game 3 in this upcoming week. And that will also be on November 9th. But the most thrilling game, the biggest upset game, I would say, is the Red Bulls defeating Columbus Crew. Red Bulls win game 1 in Columbus. Red Bulls win the second game on penalties. Columbus in the second game, they equalize in the 96th minute to make it 2-2. You have Carlos Cornell making 3 straight penalty saves to seal the victory for Red Bulls. You have John Tolkien missing the very first penalty for Red Bulls in that game. And I mean, that game was just insane. You had Columbus multiple chances to send a game 3 to Columbus, and they couldn't take care of business. They were up at one point in the penalty shootout 4-3. All they had to do is score with Shebeko and make it 5-3. And no, he gets his penalty saved. And then Forsberg steps up, makes it 4-4. If Columbus then score with Arfstein, then it's 5-4. He gets his penalty saved. Then Charnielis has a chance to go ahead and put Red Bulls up. He misses his penalty. And then Matan gets his penalty saved. And then Daniel Edelman finally seals the deal, 5-4. Yeah, crazy shootout there in Red Bull Arena. And I did not have this. I said that I thought Columbus were going to repeat, go back-to-back in the playoffs. I said it on the MLS Battered Fans podcast. I've said it to those guys privately. And I also said it on Wise Man Said, which is the Columbus Crew podcast with Ty Fisher. And yeah, Columbus let me down. And they let all those fans down too. I mean, this is, I thought Wilfried Nancy should have won Coach of the Year. Phenomenal job once again in Columbus. And yeah, they choke. They get beat in 2 games against New York Red Bulls. And yeah, Red Bulls, I don't know. Could they make some noise? It's possible. I mean, the Union aren't there. The Kryptonite's not there in the playoffs to stop them from going on a run. So maybe we do see New York Red Bulls go on a run this year in the playoffs, but we'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and talk about the Philadelphia Union 2 versus Columbus 2. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Union 2 win this one 4-0. And man, I don't even know where to start. I guess I should start with the crowd. It's a record-breaking crowd for a second-team game. There was 4,727 fans there in attendance. That is insane. That is insane for a second team. And if you guys watch the game on the Apple broadcast, you would notice that the cameras were flipped around. Where the cameras are usually facing from the press box, they were on the opposite side this time, where the player suites are and everything like that, and the other boxes. And the reason for that was because they wanted to show all the fans in attendance. And wow, almost 5,000 fans in attendance for a second team game. And yeah, maybe part of that is because fans want to play off soccer. The Union weren't in the playoffs anymore. And I did have one comment, one response on my Substack, sorry, on my match recap that I had from Joe Hassel, and it was a really, really, really touching comment. And he basically said that listening to my previous podcast convinced him and his wife to check out the final against Columbus, and to know that I made that sort of impact on somebody that this impact of the podcast can have on people's lives means a lot, and it's not lost on me, and I definitely don't take that for granted. And I do realize at times, and I said this to and Joe, I realize at times that I probably talk way too long on this podcast. I probably expand on my thoughts more than they need to be expanded on, and I mean, so many of the episodes go one for over an hour, I feel like. And that's a long time to listen to a single person basically have a conversation with itself. But yeah, you guys tune in every single week, listen to the show. You guys watch the YouTube videos, which I haven't forgot. I know I still owe you guys top 10 saves of the season, top 10 goals. But look, Union 2 are doing their thing, and we should definitely give all of our attention on them, what they're doing, instead of the failure of a season, which was the 2024 Philadelphia Union season. And so we'll go ahead and continue to give Union 2 as much coverage as we can until the season comes to an end, whether it be a win or a loss this Saturday against North Texas. But yeah, just for you guys to support all the work that I do, and to have a comment like that from Joe, it touched me, and I was pretty moved by that. And so I enjoy hearing feedback from you guys, whether it be, critiques or what you guys like. And yeah, I do this show to keep you guys informed and give you guys the coverage that the listeners deserve. And that's why we started this podcast from the beginning, back in 2019, because there wasn't enough Philadelphia Union podcasts. There wasn't many people in that press box covering this team. And yeah, now you look where it's at 5 years later. So many people are doing podcasts about the Philadelphia Union. So many people are writing about this team, and they deserve it, right? But the second team does too. And the Philadelphia Union organization, I mean, they're top class, the people that I have relationships with in the PR department, and people throughout the front office and different roles in the club. I mean, they've been really, really kind to me, and they probably give me far too much access, but I appreciate the access that they give me. And I'm really, really grateful for them, just like I'm grateful for you guys, the listeners. But yeah, to see a record-breaking crowd for a second team, almost 5,000 fans. And, there was times where it was like, wow, you forgot that the stadium's not full because it was so loud in there. And that's a testament to all you people that showed up for this game, and for Bridge Brigade. And, I sung their praises last episode, where it started as 2 or 3 friends, and it turned into something so much greater than I think they could have ever imagined. And to watch them do the thing and heckle the opposing team. And once that whistle's blown, it's, hey, good game. You guys tried your best, and no more bad blood. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me, and almost brings a tear to my eye to watch that many people come out there and support these young kids. And it was such an exciting game to see the goals that Union 2 scored. And I guess that's probably a good transition to talk about those goals. The first goal with Marcus Anderson, it took 5 passes for the Union to go from Andrew Rick all the way up to Marcus Anderson scoring in the 16th minute. You see Andrew Rick playing a line splitting pass between the two forwards for Columbus into Nick Pariano. Nick does well to get a pass off to Kevin Sullivan, who's playing as a number 10 in this game. Kevin Sullivan drops below the halfway circle, as does David Vasquez, who was playing as an outside 8. And so you have Kevin going to David Vasquez, great touch. And this is where it's so good for the Union. they play a 4-4-2 diamond just like the Union's first team. But on this play, and if you guys didn't see the goals, I put it in my match recap, thefreecake.substack.com. You guys can go ahead and check the goals out in case you missed it. But as soon as David Vasquez collects that ball, you see the Union kind of playing with a front three, kind of like they're playing as wingers with CJ Olney on the left, Marcus Anderson on the right, and Eddie Davis in the middle. And so it's a terrific ball by David out to CJ Olney. It's a great touch on the left by him. And then he's going to go ahead and just cross the ball into the near post to Eddie Davis. It's a bad clearance by Columbus. And then Marcus Anderson's in the right place, right time. And he's there to tap it home. And yeah, that's, for my money, that's the best goal, just to watch the Union build out of the back. It starts with Andrew Rick. And we sung his praises last episode, where I do think at 18 years old, he's the best goalkeeper on this team with playing at the ball at his feet. And talking to him after the game last week, he said, part of that comes from growing up playing as a defensive midfielder. And so he has that passing ability. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet. And I don't know if Andre Blake can start this play like Andrew Rick did, to have the vision to see Nick Pariano. Nick does well to just trap the ball with his left, play the pass with his right. Kevin Sullivan dropping down below the halfway line, because you have Columbus playing a high line. And to watch the Union break this down with ease, it was a beautiful goal. And again, I encourage you guys not to plug my content, but if you haven't seen the goals, go to my Substack. If you don't want to go on Substack, then go on Twitter at FreeKickPod. I mean, it's a beautiful goal. And then in the 42nd minute, you have a goal by Kevin Sullivan. And again, it starts with Nick Pariano on the ball, plays the ball forward to Eddie Davis, gets cleared away by Columbus. They can't control the ball in the midfield. And so Nick's there once again to collect the loose ball. Kevin Sullivan in a ton of space in the midfield. So Nick plays the ball into him. Kevin takes one touch, sets up his left, and shoots from about 35 yards out. It takes a deflection, but it goes on to the back of the net. And I had made a tweet on Twitter and said Golazo Kevin Sullivan. And yeah, I misspelled Golazo because I was trying to beat Jose Nunez to this tweet. And so had a nice little laugh, nice little joke there with Jose and Kyle and Jillian Almany. But yeah, people were like, yeah, you call that a golazo? It's a deflection. I guess that's what we're calling a golazo. And Jonathan Tannenwald retweeted me and said, wow. And people were clowning him too, saying, wow, a deflection goal makes you say wow. But it's not so much the deflection. He's 35 yards out. And to have the confidence to strike that ball. And yeah, sure, we might not ever know if that was ever going to go into the back of the net if it doesn't take the deflection. But to see a 15-year-old receive this pass in a lot of space and, trust his shooting ability to take that shot, Kevin's not sure if that's going to take a deflection or not. It does, and it helps him out greatly. But to have the confidence to shoot from that distance, it's a fantastic goal. And so you go into the half up 2-0, come out of the break, and Neil Pierre has a chance in the 48th minute, hits the post off of a nice little short corner kick by the Union. David Vasquez sends it in, and yeah, unfortunately for Neil, he hits the post with his header attempt. But then a few minutes later, Frankie Westfield says, Kevin, if you can score a golazo, so can I. And again, it starts with Nick Pariano winning the ball once again in the midfield, this time inside Columbus's half. And he plays the ball forward into Frankie Westfield. Frankie passes to CJ Olney. Frankie continues his run forward. He's towards the inside of CJ Olney. He receives his pass, unleashes a cross to Kevin Sullivan to the back post, gets cleared away. Nobody's there to collect the loose ball other than Frankie. He chests the ball down, hits it on a half volley, and it's a fantastic strike about 25 yards out. I mean, to see such a young team be this confident in their shooting ability to shoot from distance. And we saw the Union first team start to do this towards the end of the season taking more shots outside the 18-yard box, but a lot of those shots were getting blocked. A lot of them were not on target. And if you're going to face teams that play low blocks, like the Union played a lot of this season, then you need players that are confident from shooting outside that 18. And they don't have a Nil Senior where he can dribble on three defenders and open up space for players inside the 18-yard box. The Union don't really have that guy. Yes, a little bit of Quinn Sullivan. Quinn's probably the Union's best dribbler, I would say, but he's no El Senior, and you would say that too. I mean, not many players have the dribbling ability that he had. But if you don't have that, then you need players that are confident from shooting from distance. And to see Kevin possess that, to see Frankie Westfield possess that, Jeremy Raffanello with the first team, he has that in his locker. Quinn Sullivan has that in his locker. You know, you need more players that are willing to take those shots from distance. And to see Union 2 have two of those goals from outside the 18, it was excellent. Great hit from Frankie. And we'll talk about him here in a little bit later in regards to 3 stars. And then the last goal in the night came courtesy by Marcus Anderson, gets his brace. And we see Frankie and CJ Olney once again collecting and combining on the left-hand side. It's a cross to the back post by CJ Olney, this time to David Vasquez. And he has an acrobatic attempt that goes off of the post. Unfortunate. Then nobody for Columbus is able to clear this ball inside the 18-yard box. It's right place, right time, once again by Marcus Anderson. And it's a striker's finish. Puts it into the back of the net, 4-0. And yeah, that's what you want from your strikers, where they just know where to be and the ball is going to find their feet. And, you know, to be confident to finish and know that, hey, look, you don't have too much time to settle, to pick your corner. You just got to strike this ball. And that's exactly what Marcus Anderson did. It's really, really good stuff by Marcus. 4 goals in his last 5 games. And really, really proud to see him starting to find his form. And spoiler alert, when you guys listen to this episode, I'll be at Union practice and I'll be talking to Nick Pariano and Marcus Anderson. And I just want to ask them, both of them signed first team deals, where Nick signed a homegrown deal, Marcus Anderson signed a first team deal. And they both primarily have played with the second team this season, and both of them have been really big reasons why the Union 2 continue to win in the playoffs. It starts with the pressing from Marcus Anderson. Didn't have goals in his first 2 playoff games. Got 2 in his last, in this most recent game against Columbus. But it's the pressing by Marcus Anderson. It's the relationship he has with Eddie Davis up top, his striker partner. It's the ball winning ability by Nick Pariano in the midfield. It's the vision. It's the tackling ability. And those guys, yes, probably hope that they could have played more with the first team this season, but they've taken their opportunities when they've been given them with the second team. And it's been pretty much week in, week out that they've been selected to be in the starting 11. Nick Pariano was loaned down to the second team this season. That was a part of what happened in the offseason when he signed his homegrown deal. Just like we saw with Union and Nelson Pierre the year prior, he signed a homegrown deal, and then the Union loaned him out to Union 2 for the season. We saw it happen with Nick Pariano, and I do think we saw him play a different role this season with the second team, where he's primarily an attacking player, but Marlon LeBlanc played him as that number 6. And I do believe the 6 is up for grabs next year for the first team. You don't know what the future is going to look like with Jack McGlynn. I would not be surprised if he gets sold. And if that happens, I think Danley John Jock takes over for Jack McGlynn as the 8. And so if that happens, you know, what happens with Leon Flock? He's out of contract. Does he resign with the Union? If he doesn't, there's a hole. Jesus Bueno, I think, could be a candidate for the number 6. But if that was the case, I think we would have saw him get more playing time once the club sold Jose Martinez. And yeah, that was not the case for Jesus. And so with how well Nick's played as a number 6, with his tackling ability, with his ball winning ability, that's what the Union want in their number 6. And so could the Union already have their Jose Martinez replacement? And yeah, he's not going to be Jose Martinez. I don't think many players are with the fight and the bite that Jose brings. But look, if you don't have to go out there and spend big on a number 6, then you can go ahead and buy another number 8. Go and play that money to a U22 striker. Then I think that would be good for the club. And I think it's very exciting watching this team where you have a lot of players. And we saw it with Jeremy Raffanello. We saw it with Jesus Bueno. We saw it with Quinn Sullivan when these guys were sent down to play with the second team. And yeah, they eventually became too good for the second team. Marlon LeBlanc uses this term. Jim Curtin uses this term. They graduated. And I think we're starting to see that with some of these players now with Union 2, where next season, I'm sure they'll play games here and there with the second team. But yeah, they've come to a place where they're probably too good for MLS Next Pro. And did the Union decide, okay, well, maybe we just loan them out to the USL Championship? Because in my opinion, that's a higher level than MLS Next Pro. And I'm sure there's people inside that organization that feel the same way. But at the end of the day, there's a good amount of players that I think should be given opportunities for the first team to play meaningful minutes off the bench. And it's a player like CJ Olney. It's a player like David Vasquez, a player like Frankie Westfield. Neil Pierre, I think Union have to do everything in their power to get him a first team contract. And yeah, it's a lot of players this season that have impressed with the second team. And I hope that they're given opportunities next year with the first team. But yeah, it's pretty much my thoughts on the goals. And I didn't talk about the defensive display that much because I want to play a soundbite later on in the show from Marlon LeBlanc talking about what he credits that strong defense to. But the first clip that I want to play is not Marlon talking about the game itself. It's him giving praise to his backroom staff. And we saw Jim Curtin do the same thing at his end of the season press conference last year. And listening to Marlon start his opening statement, giving credit to the people that don't get credit, is what a leader is all about. And so this is Marlon LeBlanc giving credit to the players that obviously got the result, but the people behind the scenes that make this organization run on the daily.
What a performance from Union 2 today. Arguably probably our best performance of the year. I could literally go through a laundry list of players that were outstanding today. You may as well just chalk it up as everyone that played, everyone that came in, and everyone that's practiced have been a part of this team. Really set us up well to get the job done today. But part of my opening statement needs to be Andrew Vaccaro, Maria Mascara, John Shear, Ryan Sanders, Tanner Shinomoto. There's so many of them. These are people you don't know of who are backroom staff people who do so much for this group every single day. And so they don't get the recognition that they deserve, and they're the ones that make me and these guys look so good every day. But what a performance from our group. Outstanding from start to finish. Probably our best 90 of the year.
Yeah, so I'll hit on that. I do agree with Marlon that was at least the games that I've seen this year, which isn't a lot. I'm not going to act like I'm a Union 2 expert, a MLS Next Pro expert. And if it seems like that's been the case the last 2 episodes, I do not mean for that to be the case. I've only seen four Union 2 games this season, so not a ton. Definitely not enough to make me an expert, but yeah, out of all the games I've seen this year, by far the best game by the second team. But this is what a leader looks like. To give the people that, like Marlon said, that people don't know, the people that are working hard behind the scenes. And without them, you don't have a successful organization. Any successful organization is built off of the hardworking men and women behind the scenes. And the Union had plenty of those people. And I've seen it with the first team, And I've seen some of these people, some of the people that Marlon mentioned, familiar with their names, follow each other on social media. But that's what a leader does. Doesn't take the credit for himself. Gives it to the people that are hardworking, that aren't in front of the media taking questions. They're just going about their business, walking by fans, walking by media members without ever getting acknowledged, with people not really knowing who they are. But you know what? They still go about their job. They still do their business because they know at the end of the day, if they're not 100% at their job, then this team can't be successful. And the Union do such a good job hiring people that are the best of the best at their job. I've seen it. I have seen it. And I think you guys have too, right? Phil Whetten, one of the best, if not the best goalkeeping coach in MLS, in all of America. He's a phenomenal goalkeeping coach. Frank Leich, great set piece coach. I mean, look what the Union did on set pieces this season. Look at Ryan Richter making his way through the academy and then eventually getting brought on to Jim Curtin's coaching staff. Pat Noonan, when he was here, one of the best coaches in MLS. And the Union really know how to scout coaches, promote from within. And if they don't, then they go out and get managers that are going to be first team managers eventually someday. And then if you don't even talk about, the coaching staff, look at the people in the front office. Look at the people that are in the sports science department. And there's so many names I can mention to you guys that have been with the organization for a long time, people that were with the organization now have went other places. And like I said, Jim Curtin last season gave credit to a couple of those members on his staff that nobody has a clue. This fan base has not a clue of what these people do, but they were vital to the success and vital to keeping these players healthy daily. And that was really, really special hearing Marlon give the credit to the people that absolutely deserve the credit. And like I said, that's what a leader looks like. And the Union are very, very fortunate to have somebody like Marlon LeBlanc leading this project, leading the second team. Because if I was working for the Union, I would 100% be excited to come to work every single day and work under somebody like Marlon LeBlanc. Watching him get animated on the sidelines, yelling, communicating with his players, communicating with his staff. And anytime, something's going wrong on the field, you see Marlon get up, and that usually means Marlon's going to be yelling. But then at times too, it's him giving praise. And, that's what you want in a coach. That's what you want in a manager. And there's different coaching styles and everything. And that's how Marlon chooses the coach. And evidently it's working. Look at the success the second team's had this season, and look at the success he's built since he's taken over as the second team coach in 2022. Really, really good stuff by Marlon LeBlanc. And he's done an excellent job creating this team first culture. It starts and ends with him. And getting every single one of those players to buy in. And you may only play 5 minutes. You may have only made 3 appearances all season long with Union too. But these players, when called upon, they've bought into this system. And that's because of Marlon LeBlanc. And I do think there comes a day where he gets offered a head coaching job. He gets offered an assistant coach job. He'll have to think long and hard. Do I want to continue to be a manager, be a coach of a second team, or do I want to go ahead and try my hand at a higher level? And speaking of that, we saw him come over from West Virginia University after 14 seasons, had a record of 138, 134 draws. Fantastic career at West Virginia. 14 seasons. That started in 2006. 15-3-3 record in his first season in 2006. Was named the 2006 Soccer America Coach of the Year. He's won multiple conference titles, made it to the NCAA tournament 6 times, including a Sweet 16 appearance. Very, very successful time at West Virginia. Multiple players getting drafted into the MLS. Ray Gaddis, Jack Elliott, former Philadelphia Union player, current Philadelphia Union player. He's done a really good job getting players ready for the next level, developing players. And like I said, what better guy to have for the second team than Marlon LeBlanc? He has a history of getting players developed, getting them ready for the next level. And he's done exactly that with Union too. And so I asked him after the game, on a personal level, you look at all the success that you've had at West Virginia, and now you win your first professional trophy with Union 2. What does that mean for you on a personal level? This is what Marlon had to say to that question.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I don't think I've really thought about that. I like the fact that, this journey, this project has been hard. It's a project that we learn something new every single day, because there are very few times where 2 days are the same. I think from my perspective, especially now you think about all the stuff going on in the NCAA, how many coaches are just walking away. This project has been incredibly fulfilling. From a coaching standpoint, all I do is coach. I don't have to go and fundraise, and I don't have to go and take compliance tests and recruit. This is about their individual journeys. This is about their development. We put on a show for the league. We put on a show for the club of what it means to develop and what it means, what this project can be. And I think because of that, this holds a really, really high place in my heart, especially. Getting to share it with a guy like this to my left who, in a lot of ways, you can look at it freshman, sophomore, junior year. I've spent 3 years. He was on this team when we first started MLS Next Pro. And here he is now, the captain of the club, a week away from going to Penn State and making that college journey. And he's getting to lift the trophy today. And, we've been through it from the start. Same with CJ and David and Andy Rick. They were my first Next Pro team. And so to see those guys basically all now graduating to a first team and lifting a trophy with them, what an incredible experience this has been, an incredible journey. And the coolest thing about it's not done yet. We got another game to still go play and try and win too.
Yeah, again, I said it a few moments ago. Marlon LeBlanc's a leader, and you can tell that that question really did make him think, and it seemed like, or at least I sensed that he was getting a little bit emotional, prideful, talking about having a Frankie Westfield, a CJ Olney, a David Vasquez, Andy Rick on his very first professional team in MLS Next Pro. And to watch those guys now graduating, earning first team contracts, they go on and probably won't be spending too much longer in MLS Next Pro, because they are getting ready for MLS. And there was something there that Marlon said. He said, this is about their development. We put on a show for the league, for the club, showing what it means to develop and what this project can be. And he's shown exactly what development looks like, what this project is. And again, I said, there is no better person than Marlon LeBlanc to lead this club in development for the second team, to lead this journey. And who knows what the future looks like for him after the season. I'm sure there's going to be teams interested in collecting his services at higher level. But his first season in 2022, 11-9-4 record, 40 points, finished third, lost to Toronto 1-0 in the first round of the playoffs. Next season, MLS Next Pro go to playing more games. And so they finished 12-12-4, 42 points, 7th place in 2023, lost to New England 3-2 in the first round of the playoffs. And so you don't get shut out like you did in 2022. You still lose, but at least you put up 2 goals and you put up more points than you did in 2022. And yes, I know they played more games in 2023, but still impressive. You put up a fight against New England in the playoffs. And now this season, 15-9-4, 52 points, Second place, 3 playoff wins and only 1 goal conceded. I'll go back to that. And this is about their development. We put on a show for the league, for the club, showing what it means to develop and what this project can be. That's a 10-point jump from last season to this season. You go from 7th to 2nd. 3 playoff wins, 1 goal conceded. And we hear Jim Curtin say it all the time that, it starts with our defense, playing from the back. If we're strong defensively, then everything else is going to take care of itself. And that's exactly what we've seen with the second team this season. And this project is starting to, I get a sense, come to an end of this same team that we've seen the last couple seasons. I think we're going to see players move on to the first team. We're going to see some players, I think, ultimately leave Union 2 and have opportunities elsewhere. And then we're going to see the next batch of homegrown kids coming in. I mean, just think about it. Look at this previous class of homegrowns. Nick Pariano, CJ Olney, David Vasquez, Andrew Rick, Kevin Sullivan. That's a solid 5 players. And take away Kevin Sullivan, I still think that's 4 really, really solid players right there. And what's the next crop of homegrowns look like? Frankie Westfield, potentially. Neil Pierre, potentially. Hopefully. There's another group coming from behind. And, you think back to that class of Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson, and it's like, wow, these are studs. And they get sold to Genk and RB Salzburg, and got players playing in the Champions League, and Brendan Aronson's playing against Real Madrid. And it's all just mind-blowing to think, wow, this kid was just in Philadelphia, a scrawny 18-year-old, 19-year-old from Medford, New Jersey, was bossing it in MLS, and now he's playing Champions League soccer against Real Madrid. It's unbelievable. And you look at Mark McKenzie, who, for my money, was the best center back here in Philadelphia, was a top 3 center back in MLS during his time here. And yeah, I think he probably stayed a little bit longer than what he would have liked in Belgium, but now he's playing in Ligue 1 with Toulouse. And now he's getting constant call-ups with the U.S. men's national team. And I think he has a real chance of being one of the starting center backs in the 2026 World Cup. Mark McKenzie is a fantastic center back. And you look at the classes that came after those two, and it's like, wow, it just continues to get better and better and better. And yeah, I mean, I may joke about how the Union way is a little bit of a joke, where you come through the academy, then you do your time in the second team, and then eventually get rewarded with a homegrown deal, and you go on to the first team and then eventually get sold on. But at the same time, the club can't say that it doesn't work. And I do think that there are some players where you question, okay, why are you giving a homegrown contract out to him? And it really makes the homegrown deal lose its meaning a little bit. But you do continue to develop really, really solid players from the academy. They continue to sign really good players to the academy. And so it's obviously working. And so for Marlon to say, they want to put on a show for the league, for the club, and show what it means to develop, and to watch him get the best out of these players, it's been phenomenal. And so I spent a little bit of time there talking about the defensive display by the Union. And yeah, it's really been something. Holding Columbus to one shot all game long, and that shot wasn't on target. Columbus came into this match with 9 goals in 2 playoff games this season, led the league in goals in playoffs. 9 goals is insane. They put up 6 of those in one game against Inter Miami's second team. That is unbelievable. Columbus and the Union prior had played each other this season 3 times, 1-1-1. 11, 14, and 16 were the shots in the previous 3 games this season. Like I said, you hold Columbus to one shot all game long, and now 3 games into the playoffs, and Union 2 have only conceded 1 goal. They came into the playoffs tied for the 5th fewest goals conceded in the regular season. 3 games in the playoffs, you have 2 clean sheets, only 1 goal conceded. It's really, really, really good stuff. And it starts with the defense, like Jim Curtin says. And, Marlon LeBlanc would probably say the same thing too. And so, like I said, I asked him after the game, what would you credit this strong defensive display that we've seen throughout the playoffs? And this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I thought we had an incredible week of training. We had everybody. I think there's something to be said for, these last couple performances in particular when we've got everybody and we're able to be together and share time in that locker room. The strength of this group is its locker room. We've spoken about that quite often. And you saw probably a lot of coordinated actions with us today, probably more than you'd probably seen all season long. But it starts and ends with that locker room. The group works so well collectively together, but we really have honed in and dialed in, and we're peaking at the right time. And that's important too. You got to get a little bit lucky. Had some good bounces tonight, right? But you got to be good, and we were really good. We created our own luck. Magical. Even if you think about like David's sidewinder off the post, and it comes back to Marcus. Marcus is in the right spot, so we create our own luck there. But maybe early in the year, that ball's running all the way through, and you're going, it's just so close. But yeah, the locker room, that's why.
Yeah, the locker room's so special. And it was funny too, after the game, we're in the press conference room with Marlon and Frankie Westfield, and you hear Frankie's teammates next door in the locker room just chanting his name, calling out his name, and everybody's having laughs and everything. Was pretty funny, special moment. But you can tell that this locker room is extremely close, extremely tight. And again, I'll sing his praises. Starts with Marlon LeBlanc creating that culture and getting players to buy in and having players prepared all the time. And yeah, it's difficult. And Marlon's spoken about this in the past where, you lose guys during the week because they're training with the first team. The first team needs bodies to train because players are away for international duty. Sometimes you see players go away with the second team for international duty too. And now you're calling up more kids from the academy. And Marlon LeBlanc and his staff do such a good job to have these players ready. And, you might just play one time all season long for 5 minutes, but, it was 5 vital minutes to hold a clean sheet, to help get a goal, whatever the case may be. And yeah, it's really, really promising stuff from Marlon LeBlanc and this staff. But to watch these players love playing with each other, having a close brotherhood. And it's been multiple players now that have told me that, yeah, it starts with that locker room. There's a special group of players. We get along with each other so well off the field, and we have a really good relationship. And yeah, that's going to be the success for any successful team. It starts in that locker room. And yeah, I think that's why we saw the first team be kept together for as long as they were. And yeah, they probably shouldn't have. But part of that is because of how close this locker room was, and, how they all trusted each other and how they had that chemistry. And yeah, you see it with the second team, and yeah, the second team won't be the same next season, I would imagine, like it is right now. And yeah, they've already got one trophy, and hopefully they can cap it off with the cup against North Texas. But to see how much these players enjoy playing with each other, how much love there is, how much support there is, and to watch players that didn't even feature in the game against Columbus just showing support for the players that did, players that didn't even come off the bench, showing support. It's a really, really, really good locker room. It's a really good brotherhood, and the Union do such a good job scouting the right players and doing a good job setting up this type of family atmosphere. And hopefully it continues. Hopefully it leads them to a victory over North Texas and to have 2 trophies in one season and cap off a magical year. But let's go ahead and talk about 3 stars, and then we'll quickly talk about blend of the week, and then we'll end the show. I started the show telling you guys, hey, look, we always go like an hour long. It's just me, and I appreciate you guys. And look, we're about to go over an hour again, so I appreciate you guys. But we'll start from 3 to number 1. Number 3 for me is Marcus Anderson. 2 goals. He had 2 shots, 2 chances created, 3 out of 4 tackles won. And normally, you guys would probably say, yeah, 2 goals, that should get you man of the match. And Foot Mob did have Marcus Anderson as the man of the match. But for me, former midfielder, when I played, I tend to watch what the midfielders do a lot more than I do any other positions on the field. And okay, maybe that makes my 3 stars a little bit biased, but yeah, still, regardless, great game for Marcus Anderson. Number 2, this guy isn't a midfielder; he's a defender, though. 1 goal, 1 assist. I mean, 1 chance created, 89 touches, which led the team. 14 passes into the final third, 2 interceptions, 5 ball recoveries. That player is Frankie Westfield. And why do I include passes into the final third? It's because you want to see players playing for it. You don't want to see players play sideways or backwards. Yes, there may be moments where you have to play that way, but Frankie's a player that just got so high up the left side of the field, and it was like at times he's playing as another number 8. He's playing as a left winger, and you'd see Periano drop back to cover for him, and yeah, creating this overload. Union 2 did a really good job, and it started with the runs by Frankie on the left hand side, and yeah, 1 goal, fantastic goal by Frankie, and to watch this guy just work his butt off every single game, and this is a true leader. This is a true captain, and Jose Nunez, Mike Barrera, and I, we talked after the Union's game against Cincinnati at Subaru Park, and we were talking about, well, if Alejandro Bedoya is not brought back, who would you want to see as your captain? And I threw Kai Wagner out there, and if Bedoya is not back, it's probably going to be Andre Blake. I mean, he is the co-captain when Ale wasn't playing. But I think there is a world where, who knows what the future looks like for Kai Wagner in a couple seasons, what the future looks like for Nathan Herrera in the next couple seasons. I really do think Frankie Westfield's captain material at the highest level possible. He's obviously captain material right here with the second team, but he possesses so much leadership qualities. And yeah, he's 19 years old, and you wish that he would give a little bit longer answers, but I get it. He's just starting out his professional career and everything. And so he has so much time ahead of him to really think about meaningful responses to the media. But seeing his teammates call out his name when he's talking to the media after the game, calling Frankie, that tells you everything you need to know about his character, how much they respect him in the locker room. And so Frankie gets star number 2 on the night. But star number 1, 1 assist, 3 chances created, 7 passes into the final third, 2 out of 4 tackles won, 11 ball recoveries, 5 out of 6 ground duels won. Nick Pariano, fantastic display there at the number 6. And yeah, I mean, 3 out of 4 goals he was involved in, and created 3 chances on the night. Could have had a couple more assists than the one that he had to to Kevin Sullivan. But if you count secondary assists, then yeah, I guess technically he did have 2 assists in this game. Or no, sorry, that would have been David Vasquez. But still, I mean, the pass to find Kevin there on the first goal for Marcus Anderson, really good stuff by Nick, and to collect 11 loose balls in the midfield. That's what you want from your number 6. You want them to be active. You want them covering so much ground, and that's exactly how Nick played the position on the night, and that's exactly why he gets star number 1 for me. And I look forward to my conversation with Nick and Marcus, and hopefully, we get good responses. Definitely going to write an article, so I'll give you guys an article featuring these 2 players. We'll do our match preview article against North Texas, and depending on if I get good responses or not, we may make the interview with Nick and Marcus into a podcast as well. But those are my 3 stars on the night. CJ Olney, I thought was fantastic as well, and he has 2 assists, 1 goal in 3 playoff games. And I was supposed to play this clip earlier, totally slipped my mind, so I'll play it here just to give CJ his due. But I asked CJ, what do you credit that for him to? And this is what he said.
Just the rest of the guys. I mean, the whole team. I mean, I can't do it alone. I gotta be put in those positions by other guys, and other guys gotta finish them off. And just the trust in me and the trust that I have in the rest of the guys and the staff. It's awesome.
Yeah. So short and sweet there by Frankie. But again, I mean, it goes back to giving credit to others and knowing that this is a team. It's not about individuals. It's, if one of us are doing well, it's because the whole team is doing it well. And these players understand that. They definitely understand it. And I said the last episode that this may be a hot take, but I truly believe it. I think CJ only could play 500 minutes next season. I do think he's ready for MLS next. I mean, for MLS with his passing ability, with his vision. It's not the fastest player, but I do like what I see from him offensively. And, maybe he can split time on the left side of the field if Jack McGlynn's sold and you play Danley there at the 8. And, I hope that CJ gets opportunities next year. Happy to see him get his homegrown deal this year. And I think the sky's the limit for this 17-year-old. I mean, there's a reason why him and Frankie Westfield got best 11 for MLS Next Pro this season. And they definitely got that right, the committee that votes on that. But let's go ahead and quickly talk about Blunder of the Week. And we talked about it right at the beginning of the show about the Seattle Sounders and Houston Dynamo game. And Houston in game 2, they had to play down a man for 24 minutes. And that reasoning was because Hector Herrera, the captain for Houston, didn't like the call from the referee. And so he spits at him.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, not good at all. You can't have that. The captain, your star player, losing his cool in that moment, spitting at the referee. Yeah, it was not good to see. And I don't know what Hector Herrera thought he was going to get away with there, with all the cameras that are available from Apple. You have so many different angles, and of course he was going to get caught, and he gets a straight red card for that. And he deserved it 100%. And so pro referees came out with a statement after the game and said, quote, "Referee abuse and assault is unacceptable. Whether physical, verbal, or written, it has no place. When abuse and assault occur in the professional game, this behavior will be copied and find its way to the grassroots level. Without referees, there is no game. Pro is committed to working with all the professional leagues to help eradicate abuse and assault from soccer," end quote. And yeah, I mean, your captain, your star player, spitting at a referee because they don't agree with a call, it's really poor taste. And that is why Herrera gets Blunder of the Week. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, where we get your podcast, The Free Kick. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod, and check out the Substack where I do writing and I put the podcast and the goals breakdown on there too. If you guys don't want to go on YouTube or listen to wherever you get your podcast, you can check out the Substack, thefreekick.substack.com. And yeah, I'm just really, really grateful for you guys. Really grateful for that message from Joe and from anybody else that sends messages. And knowing that this show has an impact on people, and a show that I think at times goes way too long, longer than it needs to go. You guys listen, you guys support, and I love hearing from you guys. I love reading your messages and meeting you guys in person, and you guys are the reason why I continue to do this. And yeah, at times it gets hard. At times it's like, man, what's the point of even doing this when you feel like nobody's paying attention to your work? But yeah, there are people, you do get messages like that occasionally that make it all worthwhile and remind you that, look, people enjoy the content. People deserve this content. And without you guys, there would be no show. So I'm grateful for you guys. I will always be grateful for you guys. So with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.